these are the top 10 mistakes I think beginners are most likely to make. So without wasting any time, let's get right into number 1. Overlapping vertices. What are overlapping vertices? So if you go to edit mode, see a cube. It should have 8 vertices, but if we select it, you can see up here, it has 16 vertices. Now the reason that is because we have overlapping vertices. So if you grab one, you see, now we could either just manually remove them, but this is going to take time. We're going to have to fix a lot of the faces and edges. Instead, just select all, click M on your keyboard, merge by distance. You can also right click or left click and merge vertices. The reason we get merge vertices or overlapping vertices is when we're editing. For example, if we take this plane, we want to extrude it a bit, extrude it there, but then we decide we don't want to do that and we just cancel it. Go again, there. Now it doesn't look like we have overlapping vertices, but now that's just created a bunch of overlapping vertices. So once again, just select all, merge by distance, and then done. Sometimes you might have to change the slider depending on what kind of scale you're working on. The next mistake I think users often find is shader errors or texture errors, and oftentimes it's just because your normals are flipped. So normals are pretty much inside and outside of faces. You can view your normals with this tab over here. Go down to face orientation. Now red is inside and blue is the outside. Anything that you're putting textures on or shaders on or rendering should be blue, and you normally don't want to see red. Now it's quite easy to fix this. Just go into edit mode, select face, click Alt N, and then flip the normals. You can also select all, Alt N, and then flip all the normals. On to the next one is, I think we've all had this at least once in our lives, is pink textures. You've just added pink textures, or you've just imported a file and the texture is pink. Now, normally the main reason for this is Blender can't find which file you want to use. So if we go into the shading tab, and there, it's looking for this picture. Now it's either been moved or deleted. So all you have to do, oopsie, is open your File Explorer, find the picture you want, open it, and there we go. No more pink textures. Number 4 is not applying. This often causes a lot of problems, but most of it is with beveling or modifiers when you haven't applied your scale, location, or rotation. For example, if we want to bevel this cube, all the bevels are nice, perfectly even. But now let's say you've been modeling the cube using maybe some reference, and you've got quite a unique shape here. Now, if you wanted to bevel this, you see they're just all going skew. None of them are going straight how a bevel should be. The best way to fix this, select the shape, click Ctrl A, and then apply all transformations. Then make sure scale, rotation, and location are clicked. Now, if you try to bevel that edge again, let's just select the edge. There we go, much better. Whoopsie. On to number 5 is how to use a reference and also not using references. If you're modeling something that exists in the real world, use an image. It's going to make your model more accurate. It's going to save you time having to think. So just always use references. There's tons of free resources online, so you definitely want to use references. The way to add a reference is Shift A, click Image, Reference, make sure it's not clicked Align to View. Then find the picture you want. Let's choose this leaf, load reference image. Where did it go? There it is. Rotate on the x-axis 90 degrees. Now, once you have a reference, you can just get your mesh. Going onto wireframe or X-ray mode, either one will work. Go into edit mode. And now you can just simply place vertices while following the outline of the leaf. Obviously I'm doing quite a rush job here, but this is super useful, especially if you're working with like a concept artist or just modeling things in real life. The reference will make your models way more accurate and just save you a ton of time. The next one is not backing up. So let's say you're modeling the handle of a gun or a sword. You've got a few modifiers. Let's see there. There we go. Got a subsurface modifier, and we like the shape. But now let's say we want to cut a hole for where the bolts are going to go. So we get our cylinder, rotate it X at 9 degrees, just scale it down. Then we can just use the Boolean tool, Control Shift B, and then difference. But now because the modifier is applied, you see we're getting these really weird texture issues. So one way to sort that out would be to apply the modifier before. Now because the modifier is being applied, we can just select the faces, shade them to flat. Anyway, and we've gotten rid of most of them. Oopsie, missed that one. But now, let's say you decided you didn't want that anymore. Now we're gonna have to try and cover up this hole, and it's just going to be a complete mess where, as long as you have enough Control Zs, you'll be able to avoid this problem. But let's say you only noticed a while back that you didn't want to do it. So rather, genuinely, before applying a modifier, especially on an important part of your model, just duplicate it, pull it to the side, click H, and that'll hide it. Then on the off chance, now you can apply the modifier, edit it as much as you want, no matter what, because you can always just delete it and go back to the backup. The next one is texture painting with a pen or a tablet. So if we go to the texture paint side, so you get to the texture paint mode, now you want to paint and you're using your stylus. But now you can see it's incredibly laggy. Look how bad this is. It's like one frame. You're trying to rotate and you're just wondering why on earth, like this is going to be impossible to paint. Oftentimes it's a really simple fix. Just go to your files, edit, preferences, input, and then where it says tablet API, instead of using automatic, use Windows Ink. So you're selecting that, close the tab. Now you can see 100 times better, completely smooth. Definitely can use this. Let's go back to the modeling tab for the next one. Color management. If you work with Photoshop, you know color management can really increase how well your renders look. And luckily for us, Blender actually has all the tools we'll need built into it. So let's open a new file. So you have the scene you want to render, and it's all set out. So you click F12 to render it. Well, this one quickly renders, just move it to the side there. Now while we wait for that one to render, just go to your rendering options, scroll all the way down until you find the tab that says Color Management. Now in this tab, you get a bunch of options. And the nice thing about these options is that they're editing the raw file. So unlike once your render is all done, once again, go to your color management. Here, you can change the contrast, the view transformation, exposure, and gamma. Normally, it will be set on medium to low contrast, but just adding it to medium high contrast can really improve the image. You can also go very high contrast, but then it starts to get oversaturated. If you notice your thing's a little bit too dark, just ramp up the exposure. If it's too bright, lower the exposure. Same with the gamma. The next one is render slots. Oftentimes you're going to want to take a lot of renders before you're satisfied with the final picture. So once you get a render, have to open another scene. Don't have a camera in this one. So you hit render, you wait for it to render obviously, but now while it renders, you can go in here. You see in the slot 4, I can go into slot 5 or slot 1. Then I could maybe change up some of my lighting. Hit F12 to render it again. And now I haven't saved any images, but the old image should still be in slot 4. This way you can have tons of images and then you only have to save the ones that you're satisfied instead of just creating lots and lots of temporary files in your folders. The next tip is starter file. So let's open a new file, just general one with the cube. Now, if you're always going to delete this cube, you might as well just delete it. If you're going to be working, let's say you're working with games, so you don't actually use cycles, you mainly use EV. Select your EV render there, and you want your viewport to be, your render quality to be 128. Now, instead of having to input that every single time, you can just go up here, File, Default, Save Starter File, and now every time you open a new file, it will look exactly like this. So there we go. Hopefully some of these tips helped you, and if you want me to make a recording on anything else, please just drop it down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.